Using the wrong bonsai pot can kill your tree. If you look carefully at this tree, you will see there is loads and loads of dead branches. And I am blaming this pot. I'll tell you how this pot was the cause of the demise of this tree. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to fix it. And yeah, I hope that will help you avoid a mistake that could cost you a tree or at least a very nice ramified crown. Now, to understand how a pot can kill a tree, you need to understand a few things. Of course, a pot can be just in general too small. If the root ball doesn't fit properly, then the pot dries out too quickly, there's not enough water stored, and eventually by a drought event it might just be killed off. But that is not what I'm after. I'm also not talking about pots that stand in the heat or anything like that. Of course, a pot with a bonsai in it, standing in full midday sun, can also hurt the roots so badly that the tree kills. But no, in this case I'm really talking about the shape of the tree and how it was constructed. Now, to understand what causes the demise of this tree, you need to really understand the substrate that I use and how I care for the tree. Now, people that follow my channel know that my substrate is very, very open. If you don't follow my channel, shame on you, hit subscribe. But then I will provide a link at the end of this video explaining what sort of substrate I use. This substrate in general is very, very open. It just consists of gravel with coarse pine bark and nothing else. So there's nothing in this pot hindering the water from flowing out. Now, what happens, do you think, if I water my tree? Exactly. When I water my tree, the water runs through the pot very, very fast. Let's see whether I can show that. It is quite dry. There you go. You see the water just comes rushing out at the bottom of the pot straight away. This is of course a problem because it takes a little bit more effort to get the pot nice and wet. But in my climate, that is actually desirable. Now, last year we had a very, very wet year where I think it felt like it rained every day, all day, continuously. As a result, I had a huge slug infestation, but also my pots were so wet that I rarely needed to water them. And that has been the problem with this tree. Because it was so wet and it wasn't dry at all, the roots were standing continuously in water. And that brings us to the bottom of the problem, pun intended. If you look at this pot, the bottom stands up in the middle. Basically, the deepest point of the pot you would normally want to be at the drainage holes, because then the water can come out naturally. But here it is all around the rim that the lowest point of the pot occurs. I'm going to try to show you what happens if this were to be completely filled with substrate and then you water. You can't see what happens, but without substrate, hopefully we can. Rain, 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 rain. Stops raining and as normal it pours away. But look at that. There's water standing here in this corner, in that corner. The pot of course isn't completely horizontal, but you see the problem. You get little puddles of water standing here in the pot. Now, what can we do about this? The solution to this problem is as simple as it is complex. Basically, you just drill a hole in the lowest points of the pot. In this case, I think I'm just going to drill 2 on the diagonals. And how do you drill a hole in the pot? Because a pot can quite easily burst. That's why I got this. This is stone drill. You can just get it in your hardware store. It is studded with little diamonds. There's a little plastic top on front. I don't know why it sticks out a little bit. So I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to see whether I can fix this pot by just drilling 2 more holes in the bottom of the pot. Now, when I realized what the problem was, of course I went through and looked at my other pots. And one of the pots that I bought this year, this is for my kaki or my persimmon. It has a nice reddish with green coat, glaze. But this one also, it's a somewhat older pot. And here the bottom is not completely smooth, and on the inside also this has a little bit of a depression. So here the same thing, I might have to drill a hole in this. And now this gets tricky. These sort of drills, they always have an optimal speed to use them at. And here it says a minimum of 15,000 rotations per minute. That is really, really fast. So I'm not sure, make sure it is in the drilling mode, not in the hammering mode, otherwise that would be a disaster. And then it says on the package, start at an angle of 45 degrees and then in a tilting manner dive into it. Always, or at least I always like to drill when it is wet. So I'm just going to do it here and let's see what happens. Let's see whether it actually does anything. That actually looks pretty good. Now I might have to lift it a little bit so that I don't drill through whatever is below. Oh no, it's on a nice foot. Let's continue. That looks like it's draining. Look at that. Maybe one hole is sufficient after all. Cool. But considering how effortlessly that went. So that's the second hole. Perfect. Now I can use this pot again for my trees. Let's see. That seems to drain a lot better. But even if it is not completely horizontal, then there will be still a little bit of water in this edge. So I might actually just have to do 2 more in here. Now my persimmon or kaki is right now at the optimal time to repot. So yeah, get better a good pot for it. This plant of course has flowers that you hardly see, but when it creates fruits they're nice, maybe 1 inch, 2.5, 3 centimeter big fruits on this. And they are bright red, and I think it will do really well with a pot that has red and brown on it, because the fruit color is exactly that over winter, red with brown. Now it loves water, but it hates standing water, so it needs to be repotted in something that is free draining and absolutely no stagnant water. So the pot that I selected really needs to have a little bit of a hole drilled into it. Let's see whether that works as well. This is a bit of an older pot. Maybe it will burst, maybe it will not. And again, there's a bit of water in here. And in this case I want to drill through the deepest part of the pot, of course. It's a bit tricky because I don't know how deep I need to drill here. I can't see anything. That worked well. There's a little bit of damage, but nothing too serious. Now this is how I solve killer pots.